I never thought the moment I blew out the candles on my birthday cake would be the same moment my entire marriage went up in flames. I still remember how the candle smoke curled in the air, how everyone was clapping, and how my husband was standing beside me with a smile so fake it looked like it hurt his own face. And then, right there in front of his entire family, in front of my friends, and in front of people who barely even knew us, he dropped the kind of bomb no one expects on their birthday. He said he wanted a divorce. Just like that. No warning, no lead up, no private conversation. He turned my birthday into the stage for his big announcement. The silence that followed was so heavy I could swear I heard the frosting melting on the cake. To this day, I still ask myself, was I wrong for the way I reacted afterward? And if you were in my position, what would you have done when the person you trusted most blindsided you like that? When I think back to everything that led to that moment, it feels like watching the slow collapse of a house you didn't even know had cracks in the foundation. My husband, Mark, had always been the kind of man who cared too much about appearances. You know the type, never raises his voice in public, always acts polite, always looks like the perfect gentleman when there are eyes on him. But behind closed doors he was colder than winter steel, not abusive, not cruel, just absent, emotionally hollow. Sometimes I would talk to him and feel like I was talking to a chair. He was there, but not really there. It wasn't always like that. When we first fell in love, he was attentive, charming, and, ironically, the one who convinced me that marriage would be the greatest adventure of our lives. I was all in. I gave up a lot for him: job opportunities, time with my family, even friendships. Because he always insisted we build our own little bubble. And for years, I believed that bubble was enough. I thought we were building something meaningful. I thought loyalty and effort were enough to sustain a marriage. Turns out, they're not. At least not when only one person is putting in the effort. Things started shifting about a year before the birthday disaster. Mark became distant, quieter than usual, and weirdly obsessed with his gym routine. He started staying out late, claiming he needed alone time or a break from stress. I asked him if something was wrong and he always brushed it off. "I'm fine," he'd say with that tired smile, like my questions were inconveniences. He promised we were okay, promised it was just stress from work, promised he still loved me, and foolishly, I believed him. Even when little signs kept popping up, him hiding his phone, deleting messages, shutting down when I approached him, I convinced myself it was nothing. Love makes you blind in the worst ways. Then came the birthday planning. I didn't even want a big party. I had suggested something small, maybe just dinner. But Mark insisted on the opposite. He said I deserved a celebration with family. He said it was important. He said it would be a night to remember. If only I knew what he really meant. His cousin Lana helped him plan the whole thing. Let me tell you something about Lana. She was the opposite of Mark. Loud, funny, blunt, and annoyingly perceptive. She was the kind of person who could look at you once and somehow read your entire mood like a book. We had always been friendly, but not extremely close. Still, she went all out for the party. Decorations, cake, guests, everything. She said I was like a sister to her. Funny thing is, I didn't truly understand what she meant until after the divorce bombshell. On the day of the party, everything looked perfect on the surface. The decorations were beautiful, the food smelled amazing, the living room was filled with laughter, and everyone was chatting. I walked around thanking people for coming, smiling, pretending like everything was fine. But deep down, something felt off. Mark was acting strange, too quiet, too tense, and constantly checking his phone. At one point I walked up to him and he flinched, like I had startled him. I asked if he was okay and he said, Yeah, I'm fine. Just tired." He always said he was tired. I told him we could cancel or move the party to another day if he wasn't feeling well. But he insisted everything was perfect and that I shouldn't ruin the night with unnecessary worry. That should have been a red flag, but I brushed it off. I didn't want to be the overthinking wife. When it was time for the cake, everyone gathered around. The lights dimmed. Someone turned on a cheesy birthday song. I laughed, even though I felt uneasy. Mark handed me the knife and held my waist with this rigid, forced smile. Cameras were out. Everyone was watching. I made a wish, ironically. I wished for clarity in my marriage. I wished for answers. I cut the cake. Everyone cheered. And then, just as I was about to hand out slices, Mark tapped his glass with a spoon, asking for everyone's attention. I looked at him confused, because he hated making speeches. He cleared his throat, looked around the room, and said, "There's something I need to share." At first I thought he was making some sentimental birthday toast. Maybe thanking everyone. Maybe thanking me. But when he said, "I think this is the right time to finally be honest," My stomach dropped. Then he said it. He wanted a divorce. He had been thinking about it for a long time. He said he didn't feel connected anymore. He said he didn't want to continue living a lie. He said all of this while I stood there holding a plate of cake, trying to process the fact that my husband, my partner, had chosen my birthday of all days to humiliate me. The gasps from the guests echoed in my ears. People looked away, some whispered. Some just stared. And Mark looked relieved, like he had finally taken off a heavy backpack he'd been carrying for miles. Meanwhile, I felt like he had thrown me off a cliff. I don't even remember what expression I had on my face. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I didn't even move. I was frozen. My mind was trying to understand why here, why now, why this way. And for the first time in months, I could see it in his eyes. He didn't care at all. When the initial shock started fading, the room gradually emptied. People avoided eye contact. His aunt awkwardly patted my shoulder. His mother whispered something like, "It's probably for the best," which made me want to laugh and cry at the same time. Eventually, it was just me, the cake, and the mess of wrapping paper on the floor. Mark disappeared upstairs, didn't even ask if I was okay, didn't even check on me, didn't even apologize. He acted like he was the victim, like he was the one who needed space. I walked outside to get some air, and that's when Lana followed me. She didn't try to comfort me with clichés. She didn't say, "It'll be okay," or "He didn't mean it like that," or any of the useless things people say when they don't know what else to say. Instead, she sat next to me and said, "I knew he was going to do something stupid today, but I didn't know it would be this stupid." I stared at her, confused and exhausted. "What do you mean you knew?" I asked. She hesitated, which wasn't like her. Lana was never hesitant. She always spoke quickly, boldly. "Listen," she said quietly. "There are things you don't know, things Mark hasn't told you." I demanded she explain, but she wouldn't. "Not yet," she said. "Tonight isn't the night. You're too raw. But I promise you're going to be okay. And when you're ready, I'll tell you the truth." I didn't know what she meant back then. I didn't know how much deeper the betrayal went. I had no idea how tangled the web truly was or how close Lana already was to the truth, closer than even I could imagine. The next morning, Mark acted like nothing happened. He came down for breakfast, made his coffee, scrolled through his phone, and didn't say a single word to me. Not even a "good morning." When I finally asked him why he did it that way, why he chose my birthday, he shrugged and said, "I needed witnesses so you wouldn't make it emotional." Can you imagine hearing that from your own spouse? I didn't yell. I didn't throw anything. I just stared at him in disbelief. He packed a bag and said he was going to stay with a friend, for clarity. Then he left, just like that. Days passed like a blur. Some family members checked on me. Some avoided me because they didn't want to take sides. But the person who checked on me the most was Lana. She showed up almost every day, sometimes with food, sometimes with stupid jokes, sometimes just to sit in silence. And slowly I began noticing something. She seemed angrier about what Mark did than I was. One afternoon, I finally asked her why she seemed so emotionally invested, and that's when her face changed. She put her coffee down, took a deep breath, and said, "Because Mark didn't just end your marriage. He lied to you, and he lied to me. And I'm done covering for him." That sentence rewired my entire brain. She wouldn't tell me everything right away, but she gave me pieces. Enough to make my stomach twist. Enough to make me realize everything I thought I knew about my marriage was half illusion. She hinted that Mark's emotional distance didn't come from stress. She hinted that his sudden gym obsession had nothing to do with fitness. She hinted that there were people involved who shouldn't have been. And worst of all, she hinted that she had been begging Mark not to go through with the party stunt because she knew it would destroy me. But Mark didn't listen. He didn't care who got hurt. And just when I thought I couldn't feel more devastated, Lana said something that lit the first spark of anger in me. "You deserved better than him. And you're going to get better. Just wait." Those words stayed with me. They played in my head every night when I couldn't sleep. They kept me standing when everything felt like it was collapsing. And I didn't know it yet, but Lana was right. She was about to turn my world upside down again, but in a completely different way, in a way that would make me question everything, including her, including Mark, and even myself. So that was the situation I was in, humiliated, heartbroken, and suddenly aware that my husband had been hiding something much bigger than just wanting a divorce. And before I tell you what happened next, I want you to pause and tell me, what would you have done in my shoes? If your spouse blindsided you on your birthday, in front of everyone, and then someone close to him told you there was more to the story, Would you chase the truth or walk away? When I finally felt strong enough to face the truth, I called Lana and told her I was ready to hear everything. My voice was steady, but inside, my stomach was twisting like I was about to walk into an execution chamber. She came over within 20 minutes, faster than I expected, like she had been waiting for that call. She walked into my house with 2 coffees and a folder. Yes, an actual folder. The moment I saw it, my heart started pounding so hard I felt it in my throat. She set the folder on the table, didn't sit down yet, and looked at me with this strange mixture of sadness and fury. And that's when I realized, whatever she was about to tell me wasn't just gossip or suspicion. It was something she had known for a while. Something she needed evidence for. Something she hated keeping from me. Before she even said a word, I asked her the question that had been haunting me ever since my marriage fell apart. Was Mark cheating on me? I braced myself. I thought I was ready. But the way she looked away, the way her jaw clenched, told me the answer wasn't simple. Finally, she said, "Not at first." Those 3 words cracked open a door I wasn't ready to walk through. "What do you mean, not at first?" I asked. She sat down across from me and said quietly, "He wasn't cheating when he started pulling away. But eventually, yes, he crossed the line. And he crossed it with someone he should have never trusted." My heart sank. I knew it. I felt it for months. Every late night, every secretive phone call, every cold response. It all made sense now, but knowing doesn't make it easier. My throat tightened, but I didn't cry. I just stared at her. "Ooh," I whispered. She pushed the folder toward me, but kept her hand on top of it, like she wasn't quite ready to let go. "Before you open it," she said, "you need to know that I tried to stop him. I warned him that secrets don't stay buried. I told him he was destroying something good. He didn't listen." My voice shook as I said, "Just tell me who it was." And when the words left her mouth, everything inside me went still. "It was your friend Harper." I felt like someone had punched me in the chest. Harper, my friend of 7 years. The woman I trusted, laughed with, confided in, traveled with. The woman I introduced to Mark. The woman who hugged me when I cried. The woman who told me she admired my marriage. I think the shock was worse than the pain. I didn't believe it at first. "No," I said immediately. "No, she would never. Harper isn't like that." Lana didn't argue. She simply opened the folder and slid a picture toward me. A screenshot, Mark and Harper chat messages. Late night timestamps. Flirty emojis I had never even seen him send me. I stared at the words, every line like a dagger. And then she slid another photo. And another. I didn't cry. Not right away. I was too stunned to feel anything. Instead, I felt this numbness spreading through me, like my emotions were shutting down just to protect me. When I finally found my voice, it was barely audible. "How long?" Lana sighed. 6 months. Maybe longer. I don't know exactly when it started, but I know he tried to end it before the party because he felt guilty. That's why he was acting strange. That's why he wanted the divorce public. He was trying to come clean, in a way that made him look like he wasn't the bad guy. I laughed. Not a happy laugh. A broken, bitter laugh that didn't even sound like me. "He wanted witnesses," I said. "So I wouldn't be emotional, so he could control the narrative." Lana nodded. "Exactly. He wanted the story to be that your marriage just wasn't working, so no one would question his timeline." I leaned back, feeling nauseous. I thought of Harper's face, her smile, her stupid little laugh. And suddenly I realized every time she asked me about my marriage, every time she encouraged me to give Mark space, every time she told me not to pressure him, she was protecting herself. She wasn't helping me. She was helping him. And that betrayal hit me harder than anything Mark had done. But Lana wasn't done. "There's more," she said quietly. I didn't think my heart could handle more, but I nodded anyway. "After they ended things," she continued, "Harper became obsessive. She kept showing up at family events. She kept texting him. She threatened to tell you everything unless he broke things off with you permanently. She pressured him into ending the marriage." My mouth fell open. "You're telling me he ended our marriage because Harper threatened him?" Lana looked away again. "He was going to end it eventually anyway." "But yes, she pushed it sooner. And she pushed him to do it publicly because she told him you'd manipulate him emotionally if he did it privately." It was like every betrayal was layered with a second betrayal and a third. I stood up and walked away from the table because I needed space, but space didn't help. Nothing helped. Lana followed me slowly, but she didn't touch me. She respected that I needed distance. "I didn't tell you sooner," she said softly, "because I didn't have proof. And I didn't want to break your heart unless I knew for sure. But when I saw what he did at the party, I knew he didn't deserve your protection." I turned to her, and for a moment, I saw something in her eyes I hadn't noticed before, guilt. And then she said something that changed everything again. And maybe I didn't tell you sooner, because I didn't want you to think I was telling you for selfish reasons. I frowned. What do you mean selfish? She hesitated, because I've never liked the way Mark treated you, and I've always believed you deserved better. Her voice cracked slightly. I care about you, more than I should. I froze, because suddenly the pieces clicked, the extra visits, the long talks, the protective anger. The way she always looked at me when she thought I wasn't paying attention. Lana wasn't just upset because Mark hurt me. She was upset because she cared about me in a way that went beyond family. I didn't know what to do with that information. I didn't even know how to react, but she must have seen the confusion on my face, because she immediately stepped back and said, "You don't have to say anything. I'm not asking for anything. I just need you to know that I'm on your side, no matter what." And for the first time since the birthday party disaster, I felt something warm break through the numbness. Support. Real, genuine support. Over the next few weeks I focused on healing, or trying to. I stayed busy packing Mark's things, filing paperwork, talking to lawyers. He wasn't difficult about the divorce itself, probably because he didn't want anything getting messy. He wanted a clean exit, a clean reputation, a clean conscience. But I wasn't interested in playing clean anymore. I wanted truth, I wanted closure. And honestly, I wanted a little justice. When I confronted Harper, it wasn't planned. I ran into her at a cafe. She looked surprised to see me but tried to pretend everything was normal. "Oh my God! How are you holding up?" she asked with fake concern dripping off her voice like cheap perfume. I didn't play along. I didn't smile. I didn't hug her. I said, "I know what you did." Her face went stiff. Her eyes darted away. "I don't know what you're talking about," she said too quickly. I pulled out my phone and opened one of the screenshots. I didn't show it to her fully, I just held it up enough for her to see her own messages. Her face turned pale. She didn't speak for a long time. Then she finally whispered, "He said he was leaving you anyway." I stared at her. "So you decided to speed it up." She looked like she wanted to defend herself, but nothing convincing came out. "I didn't mean for things to get so messy," she mumbled. "I thought he loved me." I almost laughed. "He didn't love me. He didn't love you. He didn't love anyone but himself." She looked like she was about to cry. "Are you going to tell people?" she asked. I shrugged. "People already know enough." And then I walked away, because she wasn't worth another second of my life. Mark, on the other hand, couldn't stay away forever. One evening, he showed up at my door. I didn't let him inside. He stood there on the porch, looking exhausted and small. "I'm sorry," he said. "I didn't mean to hurt you." I crossed my arms, "But you did." He looked down. I raised an eyebrow. "Plural," he sighed. "Yes. Plural." I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I didn't even shake. I just stood there with a calmness I didn't know I had. "You didn't just make mistakes," I said. "You made choices," repeatedly. He nodded, defeated. "I know, and I'm not asking for forgiveness. I want you to know that I didn't stop loving you on purpose. It just happened." I stared at him for a long moment and said, "I didn't stop loving you on purpose, either. But I'm done now." He looked like he wanted to say more, but I closed the door. And for the first time, closing a door didn't feel like an ending. It felt like a beginning. Lana became my anchor during that time. She didn't push boundaries. She didn't make things weird. She just showed up. Every day with groceries, with jokes, with silence, with support. One evening, after a long day of paperwork and emotional exhaustion, I broke down. Not because of Mark, but because I felt overwhelmed by everything, the lies, the betrayal, the embarrassment, the healing process. I sat on the couch and cried for the first time in weeks. Real, painful sobs. And Lana sat beside me quietly, letting me cry. When I finally calmed down, she gently touched my hand and said, "You are the strongest woman I know." And hearing that from her meant more than any apology Mark could ever give. But something unexpected started to shift inside me. The more time I spent with Lana, the more I started seeing her differently. Not in a romantic way at first, but in a way that made me question what genuine care really feels like. With Mark, I always felt like I was trying. With Lana, I felt safe, seen, understood. It scared me at first, but it also felt strangely natural. One night after dinner, we were washing dishes together. We were laughing about something stupid, something small. And then suddenly, we weren't laughing. We were just looking at each other. And the silence wasn't uncomfortable. It was heavy, warm, familiar. I didn't move. She didn't move. The air between us felt charged. She always stepped back first. "I should go," she whispered. I grabbed her hand without thinking. She froze. I froze. For a moment, the world stopped. And then I let go. Stay, I said quietly. She did. We didn't rush anything. We totally talked. About Mark. About the betrayal. About her feelings.
About mine. About fear.
About confusion. And by the time the sun started rising, we were curled up on the couch, holding hands gently, like we were both afraid the moment would break if we squeezed too hard. I don't know when it happened exactly, the shift from friendship to something deeper. But it happened slowly, softly, and in the most unexpected way. No drama, no betrayal, no lies. Just honesty, care, healing, and the craziest part. I realized that Mark ending our marriage on my birthday wasn't the worst thing that ever happened to me. It was the best decision he ever made, because it set me free. It pushed me toward something healthier, something kinder, something real. The aftermath wasn't perfect. Harper tried to stir drama once she found out Mark moved on with someone else shortly after. Mark tried to downplay what he did. His mother tried to guilt-trip me into forgiving the family embarrassment. But I didn't care anymore. I wasn't living for them. I wasn't living for drama. I wasn't living for anyone's approval. I was living for me. And as for Lana, she didn't save me. She didn't fix me. She just helped me rediscover myself. And somewhere along that journey, our connection grew into something neither of us expected but both of us welcomed. So that's the full story. That's everything that happened after my husband decided to blow up our marriage on my birthday. And honestly, looking back now, I'm grateful. Because losing him showed me what real love and real support actually look like. And if you were wondering whether I regret anything, the answer is no. Not anymore.